Welcome back, Golly Vibes family. Clearly, we know The View had an all-out brawl on their platform, on their TV show. After the whole thing with Trump, listen, we brought up Whippy all kind of different times. We know The View absolutely hates Trump. They can't stand him. And I mean can't stand. So I've seen a couple of their clips online. I thought it was pretty interesting. Wanted you guys to see it as well. Check out the buffoonery.
Was red.
Yeah.
It was pretty red last night.
I don't know. I'm profoundly disturbed. I think if you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was America makes a perilous choice. I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And we know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. And I remember my father telling me many, many years ago that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And now I have less civil rights than I had when he told me that. So again,
These people go crazy on wanting to be able to have abortions. Ladies and gentlemen, do you not think that you're murdering a child? Like, what's wrong with these people? Loop-de-loops. Literally loop-de-loops.
Profoundly disturbed that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution did not prevent someone who participated in an insurrection from becoming president of the United States. I think that going forward, the convicted felon box on employment applications better be taken off, because if you can be the president of the United States, then you should not be prevented from employment in this country, because I remember applying for my jobs as a federal prosecutor, and there was a box for convicted felons. And so that box better be taken off. And I think our healthcare system is now at risk. I think
no fluoride for anyone.
Yeah, economists have made clear that he's going to increase the debt by $7.75 trillion. I'm worried about mass deportation and internment camps, and I'm also worried about Elon Musk warning Americans to prepare for temporary hardship. I'm surprised at the result, but I'm not surprised. As a woman of color, I was so hopeful that a mixed-race woman married to a Jewish guy could be elected president of this country. And I think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of cultural resentment in this country.
Well, I think it, I think it has to do with a lot of things, that being one of them. I'm obviously very disappointed. I'm very sad. I was at the Kamala Harris headquarters yesterday in Washington, and it was a very sad scene. The mood turned immediately. And I tell you, there's a quote I get a lot of inspiration from, and it's a quote that I read when I was reading about John F. Kennedy, and it says, "Whether I am on the winning or the losing side is not the point with me. It is being on the side where my sympathies lie that matters." And that to me brought me consolation and inspiration this morning, because I have no regrets. I worked hard as hell to elect the first Black Asian woman president. History slipped through our fingers again. I worked hard as hell for Donald Trump not to be president. But today, unlike Donald Trump and his followers, I acknowledge that he won. I hope for the best for our country. And I make a commitment to our LGBTQ, to our immigrants, to our elderly, to our young girls, to the women, that we will not stop fighting. We can be sad today. Today we can be sad.
You know the LGBTQ was the first people she made a commitment to. Boy, oh boy. Interesting how Sunny was saying that she thinks our health care is going to take a turn for the worse. I think it may take a turn for the better, if you ask me. I mean, do you see the difference here? Do you see the difference with the confusion coming out of the administration that we're departing from and what we're coming into? Oh, it's quite clear, if you ask me. It's quite clear if you ask me. They also wanted to take God out. They don't want God in anything. But when it comes to Trump, Trump is starting to thank God more and more. God has spared my life. It must have been God. Not once, but twice he saved my life. We're going to bring God back into our country. Now that takes it to a completely different level. You know, because a lot of human beings, they think right here. Most human beings, they're in this bubble, they're in the matrix, they're right here. Then you have different people who come out of the matrix and they can see from the outside in on what's being done from different political parties, different higher up elites, controlling what's going on within the masses. Then you have those who step out of even that box and come into the place of understanding that it's all spiritual. It's all a spiritual battle. Even the worst human beings on earth are being controlled by demons. They stepped into agreement with the enemy. They stepped into agreement with Satanists. And they're controlling the world. They're controlling the population, wanting chaos and confusion. That's really stepping out of the perspective in the place of being in the matrix. The worldly perspective in the place of being in the matrix. That's really stepping out of it. So for him to say he's gonna bring God back in the country, darkness is shook. Why do you think so many people can get on stage with Kamehameha that are celebrities? They're puppets. They're owned by darkness. They're owned by dark elites. Whether they know it or not, their money is God. That's what's going on. Let's go into another video where they talk about censoring social media.
Finland, kids in nursery school are learning to discern between fake news and real news. Yeah. They should be teaching that in this country. Yeah. Teach children tolerance, teach them to think critically.
Well, it would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is D.C. and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
It's not going to get any better with Elon Musk now in the administration.
She said regulate social media. We know what that means. They want to silence our voice, those who are telling the truth. That's why I said thank God for Elon buying Twitter. You know how much times I've been banned on TikTok? Many times. As soon as you say something true, they ban you. I've been shadow banned on Facebook, Instagram. As soon as you start telling that truth, they give you a little spanking. Make sure you know who's in charge. What'd you say? All right. Real quick. But the question is, are you going to come into compromise because of that? Or are you going to just say what you need to say, and when you feel the Lord is leading you to say, no matter the persecution, no matter the banning, no matter what happens to your social platform? At that point, you're going to choose God's side or man's side? Seriously. Now, you had different people on the show who were saying that the people spoke. The people spoke. That's exactly what happened. He even won the popular vote. The popular vote. Did you see the map? It was a red wave, tsunami.
Last several months, the polls have had everything neck and neck, but last night there was what happened to whose neck got broke? Where did it go?
At the end of a campaign, I'm sick of polls too, and that's my job, right? You get overload. And look, what the polls were telling us is that this was a very divided country, and it was going to be a close race. And I was telling people this, and it didn't make sense even when I said it sometimes. I said it's so close, it could be a landslide in either direction. Right. Because that's the knife's edge that we're on as a country. And what happened last night is that the country tipped pretty consistently in the same direction. And I'm sitting there, I'm on ABC, working our boards, working the wall.
You were up late.
I'm still up, actually.
So were you.
And I'm seeing, okay, well, it's a little redder than it's supposed to be, or that it was going to be. And wow, that blue place, why haven't we called New Jersey yet? Why haven't we called Connecticut yet? Rhode Island? Virginia took forever. And you realize, actually, the country was speaking pretty loudly at the margins, and that's all it takes, because we're so closely divided, and the country is at odds in so many ways that a little shift goes a long way. And that's what we saw. And I think it was a major statement about the state of the country. This conversation, I think, has been very important, because you have to learn from these things to understand them. And I think this was the country speaking. It would be a lot harder to understand, I think, if it was, a divided electoral college or different with the popular vote. There was a statement.
The country spoke. The people have spoken. They're tired of the confusion that party is trying to bring, clearly. They think that they're doing something cool and new and rewarding mental illness, and we're saying, no, this is not the Hunger Games. Keep that nonsense in your own mind. Now, you had him saying the country spoke. You also had somebody on there saying he spoke for the people.
The moment to listen to the voters. And this, I have to say, I've always thought he could win. I thought in the final stretch she might eke it out. I didn't expect it to be this resounding, and I think there are some lessons from it. I think we forget about rural America. I think the working class feels left behind. They feel like the powerful, the elite only care about them and their power. And he spoke to them. We may not have liked his words, but they turned out for him. I mean, the map was, it was beyond Reagan what we saw last night. And I think we need to start listening more about the concerns of everyday Americans who feel like this system is failing.
When Reagan won.
Listen, you even have them disagreeing with each other. You hear the other lady say, not really, because she said the charts were, it was beyond Reagan. And then I forgot what the other lady's name is, but she said, not really. Listen.
Map was, it was beyond Reagan what we saw last night. And I think we need to start
not really. Boy, oh boy. Interesting, interesting, interesting. It's going to be a lot of division, a lot of different homes, a lot of different offices. A lot of people, I believe, are going to wake up. Hallelujah. But I believe they're going to wake others up at the same time, which is going to be, which should be a good thing. I pray for more people to come out of the delusion that they've been in for quite some time. May the Lord continue to intervene as he is doing already. Glory is the Lord's, Jesus Christ. Always has been, always is, always will be. Let me know what you guys think of the video. God bless. Shalom.